Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. Good start there. Stumbling over like the fourth word that I said on the show. I hope all of you are having a fantastic Wednesday. That was the problem. I was trying to remember what day it was because there's such a Groundhog Day-esque quality to the past several months that when I sit down, I'm like, make sure you don't misstate the day. I do that on radio every morning too, bleary-eyed, 5 a.m. when I'm coming on live. And I'm like, don't screw up. And then usually I get the day right. Sometimes I've gotten the day wrong. Let's be honest. There is a real Groundhog Day quality to all of this. Like I said, hope all of you are having a fantastic Wednesday. We've got a lot to get to. Good news in the world of sports. You are now able to come back sooner rather than later, although some of these decisions that the leagues are making are just nonsensical. All right, let's start here. The coronavirus is effectively defeated, all right? And there are going to be people who continue to die of the coronavirus, just as there are people who die of the flu and pneumonia and heart disease and cancer and all of these other aspects of life. But the story has completely disappeared. We had a new low for Tuesday, not counting the holiday weekend, ever yesterday, going all the way back to March. The numbers continue to decline precipitously. The hospitalization rates are down. We'll see whether 2 weeks from now we have a big blip because of all the people who have been out in the streets protesting in close proximity to each other. But things are moving in a very positive direction when the state of Florida announced today bars can open back up. And when NASCAR now is planning, the reports are, to potentially have fans in the seats in June. Okay, so that is a pretty rapid move by NASCAR, which has only been back for a couple of weeks. And by the way, NASCAR is coming to Nashville. Welcome to NASCAR coming into Nashville starting next season, 4-year deal to bring a cup race to Nashville. I'm not a big NASCAR guy. I've been to Bristol, night race. I had an unbelievable time. I thought it was pretty outstanding. So I welcome it back to my home city. It was here for a very long time. But what is interesting is that NASCAR is already working with the state of Florida to bring back fans. And I think that is a very clear sign that there will be fans in some form or fashion for sure in football, NFL, and college stadiums. What that will look like remains to be seen. But going to a NASCAR race is pretty cool. I'm glad that they're talking about bringing fans back sooner rather than later with a June return date. A couple of thoughts about the NBA coming back. The NBA is expected tomorrow at a 12:30 meeting to confirm the plan that has basically been laid out by Adrian Wojnarowski already, and that is for there to be 22 teams, for there to be play-ins effectively for 8 versus 9 if the 9 seed is within 4 games of the 8 seed. There's a lot of math moving around here. This is a little bit complicated, so I'm laying out how the NBA is going to finish their season. There will be 16 playoff teams, but 6 additional teams are returning to complete the season, teams that had hoped that they might actually make the postseason. Of those teams' position to make it, then we will see exactly what ends up transpiring there. But that is a story to be following to see how that's going to go. How do you determine whether you have a play-in situation? The 9 seed has to be within 4 games of the 8 seed, okay? If not, then there's no play-in. If there is a play-in, then the 9 seed has to beat the 8 seed twice, and then that would be set for the playoffs. So that's the NBA season in general and what it will look like according to reports. It would start on July 31st, and NBA players wouldn't go back and start training until July 1. This is the part of the deal that doesn't make any sense to me. England with the EPL, Spain with La Liga, and Italy with Serie A are all back despite having twice the death rate per capita as the United States from the coronavirus, okay? If all of those leagues are back, not to mention Germany, which had a lower rate, and they are already either training or preparing to play, why are we in a situation where other American sports leagues are not back. Why are they getting back 6 weeks later? It doesn't make any sense to me, okay? This is my issue with the NBA, and then I'm going to tee off on Major League Baseball again in a moment. The NBA, in going to Disney World, is implementing what feels like to me an April policy and doing it near August. It doesn't make any sense to need to go to Disney World. It doesn't make any sense to wait until July 1 to finish. And it doesn't make any sense to have your season run potentially all the way from July 31st to October 12th. October 12th is a Monday night. That would be Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Why in the world would they want to compete for over a month head-to-head with the NFL? That's 6 weeks, basically, of NFL versus NBA action, 7 weeks of college football versus the NBA. I think the NBA is going to get destroyed in that competition. Now, the only positive that I see from the NBA perspective is this allows them to do something I've been arguing for years, which is to start their season on Christmas-ish and then run it all the way up to around the end of July or early August to finish the season. That makes more sense to me if I'm setting out the American sports calendar. But think about how strange this is going to look for the NBA. You're going to have almost every other sport, certainly football, with crowds back in some way. At Disney World, you're going to have tens of thousands of people at the Magic Kingdom, at Animal Kingdom, at Hollywood Studios, or whatever the heck it's called, at Epcot. You've got people today that are at Legoland. They're going to Universal Studios Orlando and going to Harry Potter World. And you can go to SeaWorld. So you can go to an amusement park, but the NBA is not going to have any actual fans present? That doesn't make any sense to me at all. If I can take my kids to an amusement park and stand in line to ride Space Mountain, not the Ric Flair version of Space Mountain, by the way, how in the world does it make sense that I can't go to a sporting event? That doesn't make sense at all to me. So the NBA, again, to me, it appears they are implementing an April plan nearly in August. I think this plan is going to look ridiculous. I think the NBA teams, if they don't want to have fans present, that's fine. That can be smart. But they could play in their home arenas. This doesn't seem very complicated to me. It seems like a good solution for the NBA going forward to not need to go to any one campus setting and instead to just rely upon the opportunity to be doing it from home. Like, this seems like a relatively easy decision to make. I don't understand what they're doing here. Okay, Major League Baseball. I said I was going to tee off on the NBA, and I also said I was going to tee off on Major League Baseball. This doesn't make any sense to me at all. Major League Baseball shot down the players' proposal that they play 114 games. Major League Baseball put forward a proposal that they were going to play 50. I've thought all along the most reasonable proposal imaginable is owners and players split the revenue on 82 games. They play a half season, and everybody makes half of the money, whatever the revenue is, and it could end up being substantial. Major League Baseball and the players split it straight down the middle. That seems like the most reasonable proposal that has been out there for a long time. Everybody is taking pay cuts. Owners are going to lose a lot of money. Players are going to lose money. Why can't they just get this worked out? They should have been playing already all of June. They should have been into spring training in mid-May when they opened up all of Florida and Arizona. Remember, Florida and Arizona, where every spring training facility is, we're letting you know that by May 15th, you were welcome to come down and be able to work out. It doesn't make any sense to me at all that you didn't just decide to do that. All right? This is absolutely lunacy that they weren't already working towards being back. They should be playing all throughout June. They should be playing all throughout July. They should be playing all throughout August. And remember, we've already got potentially fans coming back in Florida. Hardly anybody goes to Marlins and Rays games already. They're naturally distancing just by existing. You have Texas, which is saying 25% of the field, the seats, can be filled. for the Rangers and for the Astros, they're ready to play and they're ready to have fans back. I don't understand why Major League Baseball can't get this worked out. Here's what I would say. If Donald Trump threatened Major League Baseball's antitrust exemption, if he said, this is ridiculous, we are going to introduce legislation to take away Major League Baseball's antitrust exemption, how fast do you think Major League Baseball would come up with a solution to this problem if that were to actually take place? Come on, baseball. Get back in the game. Make smart decisions. Be ready to roll. Johnny Majors. Johnny Majors is the first football coach in my life that I ever met. I tweeted out a picture of me when I was 6 years old. Legendary University of Tennessee football player who was robbed by Paul Hornig of the Heisman Trophy on a losing Notre Dame team. Johnny Majors came in second in the Heisman Trophy ballots, was a national championship winning coach at Pitt with Tony Dorsett, and came back to Tennessee and restored Tennessee football to a national level of dominance before Phil Fulmer took over for Johnny Majors and went on to win a national championship. I loved watching Johnny Majors as a kid and the University of Tennessee football team play. I salute Johnny Majors, the Majors family, everybody else for everything that he represented to the great state of Tennessee. And I appreciate everything that he did for the University of Tennessee football program over his 85 years of life. So I will miss him like I miss Pat Dye, two guys that I remember watching coach against each other back in the day when I was a kid. Both legends of the SEC who will be sorely missed by anyone who loves college football. A couple of additional thoughts. Drew Brees is under fire right now for saying he thinks kneeling during the national anthem is disrespectful to the anthem. And here's something that I think is interesting. And this happens on social media all the time. People say, well, we want to have a national conversation. It's important to hear everybody's perspective on a variety of different issues. And then as soon as someone says something that is disagreed with by the blue checkmark brigade, they immediately decide that they need to be canceled. Drew Brees is entitled to his opinion just like every other player is entitled to his opinion. And the idea that everybody gangs up on somebody who doesn't have the consensus opinion, we saw this with Mike Gundy. Mike Gundy said he wanted to bring back his football team sooner rather than later, that we had to get back from the coronavirus. And everybody on social media piled on Mike Gundy, oh my God, what are you doing? And he ended up being almost 100% right. People are coming back right around the time that he was anticipating that people would come back. Oklahoma State opened up their doors today and players began to arrive back on campus. So I don't understand why we say we want a debate and we want a real discussion, and then immediately when someone says something that is considered to be against whatever the majority opinion is of the blue checkmark brigade, then they absolutely get crushed. We saw this happen, what was it, like 2 years ago, when Drew Brees came out as a Christian and said something, I don't remember, I'm not trying to speak to the specifics of it, but he said something dealing with Christian advocacy, and people ripped him for that as well. Again, I believe in the marketplace of ideas. Everybody is entitled to have their own opinions. I said this and I continue to say it on my radio show. We are all entitled to our own opinions. We are not all entitled to our own facts, okay? And one of my big concerns about where we are as America today, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, whether you're gay or straight, whether you're male or female, we all have to be connected to the same set of facts. We can disagree as we move towards an opinion, but the idea that your opinion is considered to be a fact, and if facts are upsetting to you, that they shouldn't be shared, this is absurd. I'm reading today. This is a very important article. Yes, I'm an old man. I still read the Wall Street Journal. There is an op-ed piece from Heather McDonald in the Wall Street Journal. And then I tweeted out the link to this piece. I'm a Wall Street Journal subscriber. I encourage you to all read it, okay? Here is what I think is very important. Here's a direct quote. The police fatally shot 9 unarmed blacks and 19 unarmed whites in 2019, according to the Washington Post database. The Post defines unarmed broadly to include such cases as a suspect in Newark, New Jersey, who had a loaded handgun in his car during a police chase. In 2018, there were 7,407 black homicide victims. Assuming a comparable number of victims last year, those 9 unarmed victims of police shootings represent 0.1% of all African Americans killed in 2019. By contrast, a police officer is 18 and a half times more likely to be killed by a black male than an unarmed black male is to be killed by a police officer. This is an article that I think everybody needs to read because it injects actual facts. Now, I'm not saying that police who commit crimes don't deserve to be prosecuted or that racism doesn't exist. Those things can all be true. We don't have to be dealing exclusively in binaries, but we do have to look at the actual factual data. Facts matter, okay? We're all entitled to our own opinions. We're not all entitled to our own facts. And a lot of people out there say, well, you need to show more empathy. You need to have more feeling. There's plenty of feelings on social media. I will plead guilty to, if I have to choose, and my wife will tell you the same thing anytime we get into an argument, I will plead guilty to being on the side of facts over emotion. That's the choices that I'm going to make in my life. But we have to make smart decisions as a country, because otherwise we are putting ourselves in a position like we saw with the coronavirus, where our response was very emotional and the logic behind it was nearly non-existent. We can't be in a position, look, there are people getting killed. I talked about this yesterday. 4 cops were shot in St. Louis. 2 cops were run over in Buffalo. A cop was shot in Las Vegas. And a cop was run over in New York City. 8 people the other night. We had a former cop in St. Louis who was trying to stop looters from getting into his building, his buddy's building, I think it was, 77 years old, who was shot and killed. You're almost hearing nothing at all about him. I believe it was in Oakland. Another officer was killed. David Dorn was the other person's name. There was absolutely no discussion about that. And the media wants to spread a certain narrative, and I believe that narrative is defined in many ways to drive us apart. I find identity politics to be an incredible cancer to the body politic of American life. And that is what I believe the media does. They move from one fear to another fear haphazardly without logic involved, and then anyone who doesn't buy into that fear or express the exact same opinion becomes a target. And that is not a good position to be in American life today, whether you're black, brown, Asian, Hispanic, gay or straight, or male or female, or one of the other 51 genders that are currently recognized. That's sarcasm. I don't think there's 51. There might be 53. All right. I love all of you. My name is Clay Travis. Thanks for making May the biggest month in the history of Outkick. Thank you for making this the most watched month of these videos ever, and also the most downloaded. We were in the millions now for downloads on audio versions of Outkick shows. I appreciate all of you. My name is Outkick. My name is Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. Kisses. See y'all. Love you. Thank you, Facebook. See y'all.